Today we had the tie-break games for the World Cup final between Magnus Carlsen and Praggnanandhaa. The first game was a 25-minute game with 10-second increment, and it started off with Carlsen, with Pragg playing white and Carlsen playing black. So he started with the e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4. This opening is called the Italian opening or the GQ piano, which is being played by Pragg of late. So knight f6, d3. All these are main lines. And here a4 has been the latest trend of players playing this. And continued on until the first set of pieces which got exchanged with bishop on e3. So white ideally plays this to have an open f file where the rook is and to attack the opponent's king. So Pragg was basically going aggressive, trying to create chances for him so that he can attack and get some attack going against the black of Magnus Carlsen. So these were usual standard moves on these kinds of openings. And Pragg was looking out for his best chances. And the critical moment, it was equal for a long period of time until the time control went close, and it was Pragg's chance to attack. So he wanted to go all out attacking, and he was very solid. Like, it wasn't that he was going harakiri on going big time, but he was very solid. But with time being slightly on the lower side, he had to find the best moves with lesser time, and that's where he started to make small mistakes. And we all know that Carlsen is usually very, if you give him half a chance, he will be a monster on the board, which is what he did today. At this position, it looked like Pragg had solved all his problems and looked like he will start attacking. But because Black had all his knights which did not have good squares and they were all boxed in, so Carlsen was waiting for the moment and slowly started to dawn on it that Pragg had to go a little aggressive. And at this point, Praggnanandhaa had close to less than a minute, and Carlsen had close to 2.5 minutes on his clock. And this being a little critical moment, you had to find the right moves. And Pragg found it a little hard. Here, after g5, it was, which looked as a good move at that point. But what actually happened after that is suddenly Black's knights and the rook started becoming very active, and Pragg had to find little tougher moves over the board, and his pieces were all boxed in. Right? Now suddenly the tables had turned. Black's two knights were aggressive, and White's pieces were all more defensive. And as
so which, according to you, was the most decisive move which was made by Carlsen?
Here, around this time, Carlsen had the right plan of getting king towards the center. That's what we ideally do in an endgame. Kings have to be active. So, and the other thing was, moment the king came to e7, this was the critical moment. Moment this came here, you suddenly see that the rook on the open file has no good square at all, because the two knights and the king were controlling all of it. And right now, Black had the opportunity to free his knights to start attacking the white king. So this is precisely the moment when Carlsen found the right plan, and Pragg had less than 30 seconds around this time. So Pragg had to find tougher moves and good moves, and he also had less piece mobility and space. So it ideally happened at the wrong moment for him, that he had to find the right moves. He had to get his pieces out. Plus, Carlsen was basically getting a lot of. It became easy for Carlsen to play in this position because
on a comparative edge throughout the match, who had the upper hand?
Until move 40, it was equal.
It was equal
until g5. f into g5, rook into g5, it was quite even. Even at this position, right, slightly before this position, it was still very even. But the moment Pragg had to find only moves which were holding fort, it was very hard to do it in few seconds or 30-40 seconds to find continuous good moves. And Carlsen is usually very good in these kinds of positions. Right? This is where Carlsen's strength actually lies, in making opponent find the right moves or only moves on a consistent basis, one move after the other. And this is where most of them struggle against him. And he actually had a nice position for himself, which suited him and his style of play. And Pragg was doing very well until move 41. Till move 41, it was absolutely even. Around this position is when he had to find only moves, and it was not easy. When it came to positions where he had to win, he always kept position solid. Like he never went, like I wouldn't say even force. He had to win by force. He still did not play any random moves or aggressive moves or whatever. He kept position solid. He kept trying. He kept probing, making opponent make the right moves. And most of them couldn't do it consistently. Today he got on the other side because Carlsen is supposed to be the king of those kinds of play, and Carlsen absolutely proved why he is what he is. So I would say mostly that way. And after this, it just became a simple technique for Carlsen, because now all he had to do was get his rook into the semi-open file, attack the pawns, and the knight suddenly started to run left, right, center, and which forced Pragg to basically run around kind of. It became suddenly very hard to play in this position because he did not have any moves to make. So his rook was boxed, his knight did not have square. His bishop was blocking. Bishop did not have any diagonals to move because this diagonal was blocked here. This diagonal you couldn't go because a rook would come down here. He couldn't go to a4 because again it doesn't do much. And all lines the bishop could not go anywhere. The rook was on an open file, but again the rook did not have any squares to go. This was boxed. This you can't go, here you can't go. And none of the squares you could ideally go with your rook. So there was no piece play, and Carlsen just made use of all of that. And this was the Desperado move. He had less than, at the time he made the move, he had what, 3 seconds on his clock. So he had to make a move, and this was absolute Desperado. Praggnanandhaa tried a nice little trick, but apparently did not work. If the rooks were exchanged here, maybe he would have had a little chance of doing something, but it was not a forced move. So Black was able to find a beautiful idea here. He gave a knight check, forced the king wherever he had gone. He would have gone h1 or f1, but both of them had the same idea, which is rook going here. Now there are two threats. One, giving a checkmate. The other is attacking the bishop. So you either had to give away a piece or get checkmated. One last Desperado. He went knight into c6. After king f6, there is no check on the board for white. And with the threat still there of losing a piece or getting checkmated, Praggnanandhaa called quits here. So, yeah. It was a great effort along the tournament. And the best part was he has been playing with Black very well. So, everybody hoped that he would find something out and wriggle out in the second game when he's playing Black. But it was a challenge which he was ready for, and so that's the whole thing here. This is typically a Carlsen game, I would say. Carlsen thrives on these positions, and he's very, very good in playing these kinds of positions. So, yeah, great tournament, a long tournament, close to a month to be precise, nearly 4 weeks of non-stop play, and great games until move 40 of this game. So we are going to see the second game of the tie break, the rapid section, 25 minutes with 10-second increment, where Carlsen was playing white and Praggnanandhaa was playing black. And Praggnanandhaa had to win this to stay in the tournament and force the next set of tie breaks, which were 10 minutes with 10-second increment. So Pragg was playing black and in a forced win situation. So Carlsen should be happy if he gets a draw. And he started off playing 1 e4. Praggnanandhaa replied with c5. And immediately Carlsen was very clear. He wanted a draw. So he started with c3, which is called the Alapin variation. And this is very solid for white, and black needs to create a lot of chances if he has to get anywhere close to a winning position. But actually, in one of those previous games against Erigesi had played the same opening with a different line, but Pragg had used his black pieces to win that to survive the tiebreak. So, thought that Pragg wasn't new to it. He had just 4-5 days back had actually played this. So, e5 right here. So, the first different move from the previous match was around here, the bishop c4. There it was d6, and then pawn into pawn happened with the Erigesi game. But here, Carlsen went straight to bishop c4. And what happens after this is black's pieces are not fully developed, and white has a lot of space in the middle. And he made good use of it to make sure there wasn't much Praggnanandhaa could do in getting any complications or getting a few chances. And to be very precise, Magnus was very clear right from the opening choice and getting his pieces. The only idea was to see if he could get a draw. So this queen f3 is the latest variation of this main line of this opening. And it attacks the pawn on b7. And if it attacks the pawn on b7, and the rook cannot come here because at some point the bishop would come here to attack. It's called a skewer. So all of this was ideally there. And this is basically a main line of it. And black castled, saying if you want, pick up the pawn. He was ready to give away a pawn to see if he could create a lot of chances. But Carlsen was very clear. He wanted no complications, no counter chances. He just wanted pieces off the board and get into a position where there is nothing much to play. Right? So he was very, very clear in what he wanted. And so Praggnanandhaa here gave away a pawn on e6. But the only problem is, even if you give away the pawn, you're forcing an exchange of queens. And with similar pieces on the board, there wasn't much. So, and all it happened was pieces got exchanged. And after this, you suddenly see that there is nothing to play. So at this position, after rook captures e1, there was a draw offer, and Pragg offered the draw, and both of them agreed to it to end the match. And with that, Carlsen wins his first World Cup, FIDE World Cup tournament. The only format which he hadn't won a championship. So he desperately wanted to win this. With that, Carlsen wins and Praggnanandhaa finishes second. A great performance, a brilliant performance, making the country proud. And the other match was for a third place, where Caruana beat Abbasov to finish third. And at the end of it, Carlsen said he wasn't, the top three were qualifying for the candidates. Since Carlsen said he's not playing the candidates to fight for the World Championship in the next cycle, Abbasov, Caruana, and Pragg will qualify directly to the candidates from this World Cup. So a great performance, great 25 days of chess, and keeping the country proud, making the country flag fly high. We hope that there is more to come from this youngster who will keep the country flag flying. Thank you very much.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.